Glossary, a mini dictionary. What is a glossary? It's a page or a number of pages in a book that define or explain specific terms, phrases, acronyms, jargon, or other text in the body of your book that need further explanation. The glossary is optional, and it can be found in the back of the book after the appendix. You could also make it part of the appendix, meaning since your appendix is additional information, you could have the glossary be part of the appendix to provide additional information. If it's real short, like if you only have a few things on there, you might want to do that if you have an appendix. Otherwise, you can just create its own page and call it the glossary. You're also going to find it after the conclusion. So I would put it after the conclusion, after your next steps, after the appendix. If you have any of those pages, put it after that. Or the other option is you can place it at the end of each chapter. So it's going to be chapter specific. If there are any terms within a certain chapter that need further definition, you could just place it at the end of the chapter. What's nice about that option is your reader is going to be more likely to look at those words than they are to flip back and forth all the way to the back of the book. So think about that. I think that's a really good option to help ensure that your reader is actually going to look at those words in the glossary. But you can put them in the back of the book too. Either way, it's going to be up to you. The glossary can also help enhance learning. As the reader might be learning new terms, they may never have heard some of the terms that you are saying. And so it can help increase their knowledge. It may help a reader to stay engaged. If there's too many terms that they don't know or don't understand, they might quit reading. But if there's a glossary that helps them out to understand these words, then they might keep reading because now they're learning something new as they're reading. A glossary may even be expected with certain niche audiences. It really depends on your topic, what you're talking about. Some readers, depending on that niche, might even expect to see a glossary. And of course, it should really be relevant. If it doesn't make sense to use a glossary, don't use it because it is an optional page, so it's not necessary to have it. Only use it if it really makes sense. Here are some tips for a quality glossary. Number 1, keep your definitions brief. Make them easy to understand and to the point. Number 2, list them alphabetically. This will make it much easier for people to look up a word. Unless you are going to create a glossary where you would say chapter 1 and then list those words, and then chapter 2 and list those words. But then if you do it like that, still list them in alphabetical order within those parameters. Only include relevant terms. Use consistent formatting. So whatever you do it the same throughout. And number 5, may also include examples of usage if needed to help clarify. So you can give the definition and then you could also give an example of how that would be used. You'll see that sometimes, like when in a dictionary or something, they'll define the word and then they'll put it in a sentence so that you have an idea of how to actually use it. So you could do that as well if you feel like it needs a little bit more explanation or just to help them to understand it more. Your action steps are to consider if your book could benefit from having a glossary. Not all fiction books need them. In fact, most of them probably don't have it. Again, it's an optional page. If you're considering a glossary, do you want to include it at the end of the book or at the end of each chapter, or do you want to combine it with an appendix? Share in the Facebook group if you're planning on using a glossary and how you're planning on using it. It might spark up some good conversation. Like I said, most people don't think to use a glossary or an appendix for that matter. And so like if you're going to combine them, it'd be interesting to see what kind of feedback you get on that. But feel free to share in the Facebook group just your thoughts on it and what your plans are.